Hello, everybody. Today we will be talking to Ganesh Narasimhadevara, who is actually a principal technologist at NewRelic. He will walk us through his career journey and some of the lessons that he has had from this career, which we could have as great takeaways and implement it in our own professional lives. Hey, Ganesh, very good morning. How are you today?
Morning, doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm good too. Thank you so much. Thanks, Ganesh, for taking time on a Saturday morning out of a busy schedule and family time and making a slot for this talk. Thank you so much again. Without taking much more time, I'll go ahead and quickly get started. Since you are aware of how this kind of works, we will go ahead and get started with a quick introduction about yourself, how you started off, what you did, and where you currently are, how you kind of reached there. If we could get started with that.
Sure, definitely. Firstly, thank you so much for inviting me to this. It's a pleasure talking to you today. And I would consider this as an honor to be part of this series that you're doing. I'll try to share my learnings with your audience. So to quickly start with my introduction, I'm from a small town in Andhra Pradesh, right? I was born there. I was brought up there. I graduated from there, everything from that town, right? So I'm quite attached to that. And I still wonder how a dumb student in school like me ended up at this stage, working for a reputed organization and working in partnership with a lot of big organizations in India and Asia, right? So I graduated from the same town, and the first job was in Wipro. So I worked about there for about 5.5 years as a performance test engineer, and I worked across US, UK, and South Africa. South Africa is a beautiful place; you should visit sometime. And then I moved to Publicis Sapient, which is another company where I joined as a performance engineering consultant. But then I continued and then grew as a manager there. I started leading a bunch of interns. It was a great journey there. I spent about 6 years. And that is when I learned quite a bit about DevOps. And then I decided, okay, let me do some adventure. And I moved to a startup, right? And that has given me a fantastic opportunity in that startup because I started leading the teams, growing the teams, and also expanding the teams across multiple tracks. So I started leading the teams. So when I joined this startup, I was the third member in a DevOps plus SRE plus prod support teams. I was the third member.
Okay.
By the time I left, it's a 20 plus members team,
Okay.
and that was spread across DevOps, SRE, information security, and compliance. Right, it's a big team, and I still take pride in building that team, and I'm super thankful to the organization for giving that opportunity for me. And that is where I decided to do another adventure, and NewRelic came in. Right,
Okay.
so I've decided, okay, so why not another adventure? Let's do a product company now. So I moved to this product company. It's been 2 years. So far, the journey has been fantastic. Great learnings. Basically, this is telling me this side of the world, how it looks, right? And obviously, I get opportunity to meet experts like you and great learnings every day. uh, from a personal friend, I'm married to the super talented woman who is super good at singing, doing a lot of handicrafts. She's fantastic at painting. I sometimes also wonder how did she end up with a nerd like me. But yeah, it happened. And then I have a 6-year-old beautiful daughter. The wall painting must have already given it out. The butterflies, clouds, and all of this, right? So she keeps us super busy. Mostly the lady at home. Thanks to her for being a great mom. Outside work, I read a lot. I'm super passionate about Indian mythology. I love Indian mythology. I read a lot about it.
Okay.
Right. And I'm also a huge fan of stand-up comedy. So I keep attending all this open mics and watch. Must have watched like a billion shows.
Okay, that's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for the quick introduction. I think it kind of summarizes, one of the follow-up question was, what challenges have you faced? But I think that's so relevant to you, given that you're keen on taking something new and trying every time new, and that's why where you are today, right? Like you mentioned about you did what you did in your previous companies, the first two companies, and then you figured out there's this new thing called DevOps. You took that up in a startup,
Right.
you wanted to move the product company. So that really shows that you're kind of keen around trying new things or new challenges, right? And about your family, that was very nice of you to say, have your wife kind of married you today. I think that's what always happens, right? Opposites attract. So that's very sweet. And about your daughter. The wall painting does speak a lot about how busy she keeps you guys, and that she's a darling at home, right? So, moving on, Ganesh, like what I just mentioned, right? So, when you moved or switched to these roles, right, I believe it definitely would not have been an easy path, right? So what kind of, I understand one is like the enthusiasm, the urge to kind of try something new and learn something new kind of also pushes you to uh, check out a place, or rather tread a place which is not, you've not had any experience before. So what is it in your case that kind of happened to go ahead and say, hey, let me go ahead and take this role? How did this help in your career growth, right? Sometimes
Right.
it's, somebody carves a path for you. Sometimes you tread upon it by accident, which is rare. And sometimes you go ahead and take it willingly, saying, hey, I want to do this. What is it in your case? And how did you
So
go?
in my case, I would say two things happened. The first one is being in the right time at the right place. That's first thing. And the second one was happening by accident, just like how you said, right? So the very first one happened when I was at Publicis Sapient, right? I was actually serving my notice period to join another service-based company.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to move from service-based company to another service-based company, just continue with it. But then my mentor was actually moving to the startup that I was talking about.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So he casually said, hey, dude, I got to know that you're in notice period. Why don't we just go for a coffee and then talk? So I just went with him. And then that is where he explained me that whatever you're doing currently in service-based companies, it is good. But
mm-hmm,
at the same time, you're working for customers or clients who are based out of somewhere else. But are you really getting to know the impact that you are making or your work is making on the end customer side? Are you
mm-hmm,
able to see it directly? Which probably I'm not, probably because of the team that I'm working on and the kind of work that I was doing. And
mm-hmm,
then he explained me what the startup is doing, how it is impacting the lives of the middle class people in India
mm-hmm.
by improving their financial situation, which I was fascinated by what the company was doing,
Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is the reason and that's when I asked him, this is awesome. I really want to be part of this, but what's the kind of role that I'm going to get? Will I be doing the same job?
Mm-hmm.
And the words that he said was really impressed me. What he said was, you come and then join this organization,
Mm-hmm.
see the kind of work that they do, and you are given a free will to pick up whatever you want, which is fantastic, right?
Agreed.
And then I went, spoke to the CTO, I spoke to the CEO,
Mm-hmm.
and their vision was very clear on what they wanted to do,
Mm-hmm.
which really amazed me. And that is when I got to work on more on DevOps side. Basically, I joined as a performance engineer, right?
Wow.
And then they said, can you help us with this part in DevOps? Can you help us with this part in SRE? And those are the things where I see that I was at the right time in the right place. And
Mm-hmm.
right after that, information security happened by accident for me, right? So the CTO came in and then he asked, hey, Ganesh, we are trying to do this initiative. And currently we don't have anyone, but we're trying to hire someone. Can you take a look at this? And join this meeting for like 1 hour and then give your opinion. By the
Mm-hmm.
time I joined the meeting, I got so interested in this concepts. I started reading about it and then giving more insights. They said, you know what, you are taking care of infosec. And I got so deep into that I started handling all the compliance stuff, all the information security initiatives. I
Okay.
got the organization ISO 27001 certified.
Wow. Okay.
At one point in time, I was literally reading the contracts that had
Mhm.
information security clauses, and helping the legal team as well. So that was one where getting the right opportunity, and the second one is one thing that happened by accident. And NewRelic was definitely something that I was looking forward for when I was in my previous job. And
Mhm.
especially working for a product-based company has always been my go-to thing. I really wanted to work for a product-based company because I've seen the other side of it, but I also wanted to see this side of the world. And NewRelic has been a game changer in my career. I mean, that really shows me what happens in this side of the world. I love the work so far, and the customer obsession is what that keeps me motivated. There are a lot of smart people. They are all self-motivated. I really love working here.
Okay, great. So basically, from your perspective, I mean, from your experience, it's a mix of both, right? You taking up challenges
So
and
both.
opportunities that kind of came your way. And
Yep.
I think that's an interesting one about how you explained about the InfoSec part of it. They didn't have anybody. You attended 1 hour of meeting and you got totally into it and started leading the InfoSec team. Right? I think
Yeah.
apart from the opportunity, it's also how much effort you put in to utilize that opportunity and grow and make it work for you, right? Or take it in the right
Right.
direction. So
Absolutely. Yes.
when it comes to such opportunities, right, Ganesh, because it's not your key area, right? How would you suggest, or how did you go about? Like, I'm sure InfoSec was the first time that you were doing, and you had never done it in the past, right? What is the amount of effort that it takes? I think, first of all, like what you mentioned, it's your interest that kind of pushes you to go a step ahead,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
How did you go about molding that where you actually went on to become the lead of or managing the entire InfoSec team? What is it that you did during that period that kind of took you to a greater height in that role?
So the first thing that I started doing was listening to experts, right?
Okay.
And anyone who tells, as of today, do you know this concept? And someone tells that I do not know this concept, it is acceptable at that point in time. But if the same question comes in tomorrow, and if they ask, hey, yesterday we spoke about this, did you explore anything about this? And if the person is still saying no, that means he's not interested in the topic, right? You
Mm.
had 24 hours. Did you do enough research to understand what the concept is? Did you listen to the experts on the internet? So internet has blown things away, right? So if there is no person who should tell that I do not know this concept and stay at the same stage after 24 hours, in my opinion. If you do not know a concept and if someone is saying this is good and if you should and this is a buzz thing in the market, then why not go and read a little bit about it, listen to the experts, and right, and internet is has so much content that's available that you start reading about one thing, you get deeper. So that is how it started, right? I was reading about one firewall
Okay.
device that we wanted to buy at the previous company. That's how the infosec journey started.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Once I started reading about this, I started reading about the standards, and from the standards, how other compliance works, and
mm-hmm.
from compliance, what is ISO 27001, and how that can help the organizations. And that's how it happened, right? And I've seen maybe 100 videos on compliance, on how this works, right? And especially compliance is just not reading documents and then adding clauses in the part in the contracts. It is about how are you going to run information security initiatives in the organization. So at
Mm.
one point in time, I had three initiatives that were running. One was ensuring the infrastructure is secured, and one is running the compliance part of it. Another one is running a bug bounty program for the organization. And all of these three going on in parallel, I had a lot of learning. So first thing is, if you start listening to the experts, you know the outline of what you have to do. You have a good guidance from these experts. You start working on this, and during the journey is when you learn a lot. And that's exactly what happened with me.
Okay, okay. I think that was a very good one, Ganesh. Like, you can't come back and say in the next 24 hours also that I don't know, given that, unlike, a couple of decades ago, today everything is at
Yeah,
it's just available at the click of a button, right?
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, good or bad, everything that you can look for is available on the internet. Right. So, in continuation to that, right now you mentioned about the buzzword, right? The latest buzzword is Chat GPT,
Ah,
right? I think LinkedIn is filled with those. I'm sure you're pretty active on LinkedIn. So you're right. Every third post or the fourth post is about Chat GPT, right?
correct.
I think it's technology is both a boon and a bane. So, what is your take on Chat GPT?
So yeah, just like how you said, ChatGPT it is everywhere, right? In fact, every product or every organization out there are trying to add some kind of GPT in its capabilities, which is really it is like I'm going to be in the rat race. I'm doing something about this, right? So no doubt, ChatGPT it's an amazing technology that can understand and generate all the human-like responses to you. But to be honest, it doesn't pose any threat to human jobs. That's what a lot of people are thinking, right? Okay, ChatGPT is here, it's doing everything for us. Is my job secure? No, it's not. Don't worry about it. It does not pose any threat to human jobs. In fact, it can help humans to be more productive. I would say the engineers can be more efficient in automating certain things. So, and in fact, I don't want to sound like a marketing person here, but then NewRelic also is about to release something called as NewRelic Grok. You must have seen marketing videos there, right? It's a generative AI assistant for observability, which I'm fascinated about. I'm really looking forward to that one. And in fact, Slack is also releasing something called as Slack GPT. Right? Slack GPT can actually, so you wake up in the morning and then you see 300 messages in a thread, and you don't have time to watch all of this. You can actually ask Slack to summarize everything and then give it in maybe 3 statements, and it would do it for you, which is amazing, right?
Absolutely.
So wherever a new technology starts emerging, people often fear about this. But the history already showed us that that's not how innovation works, right? For example, let's take a good example of cloud computing.
Yeah.
Many people initially feared that, hey, all the IT managers' jobs are gone because cloud is going to take care of it, right? And then what happened? And everything else is history, right? Everyone knows about it. With cloud computing coming into picture, in fact, more than threat to the jobs, it actually created more jobs in 2 ways. One, now you have IT managers, they are transformed now into infrastructure teams who are more efficient in handling, the infrastructure operations. It needs a certain set of skills and expertise, right? That were not there previously in demand, but now you have them in demand, and these are like specialized skills. Organizations hunt for people who have this kind of skills. And the second way of generating jobs, at least in this part, is it makes it super easy for the entrepreneurs to start a new business, which basically is creating more jobs, right? So if someone today wants to start a company, right, and create a game-changing tech where they would say, I want to build a chatbot that can tell people or give instructions to people in their local language when they're searching for a product on an e-commerce app, right? I want to build a chatbot like that. Do they really have to start writing code from ABC? No, they don't have to do it. They can just start using OpenAI APIs, right?
Yeah.
And now if this company gets started, it's going to create jobs, a lot more jobs, right? Very less investment, but then a larger impact. So I really feel fearing the impact of new technologies on job is not something that people should worry about. It's more about they should embrace it, prepare for the changing landscape, and technology is going to evolve. That is not going to stop. Just adopt to the new roles, opportunities that arise, and continue to contribute to the workforce and be more productive.
Agreed. And yeah, totally agreed. I think most of the times it's fear of, oh my God, am I going to lose the job? Because, there's an automated response, and probably 10 people will lose the job, and they'll just go ahead and enable this automation part of it, right? But I don't know if you read one of the recent ones, I think the last couple of weeks it's on the internet, about Amazon Prime going back to monolithic from microservices.
Exactly, yeah. Right.
I'm sure you must have read about that, right? Everybody were amazed. Microservices is like, we know about it, right? Everybody moved to microservices, but and Amazon Prime, I think, especially after the pandemic, they skyrocketed, right?
Oh, yes.
Only if you had those shares. Right? Now, I think in the last couple of weeks, they have moved back to monolithic. So I think that kind of really talks about how you can leverage technology. And like what you mentioned, sometimes it actually creates more jobs. So I think that was a good opinion or take on it. Thank you so much for that, Ganesh. And I think one last question with you would be, Ganesh, what is your advice or suggestion for young leaders who would want to be techno managers, right? Nowadays, there's no separation between being a manager who does only the people management job and the technical part of it, right? A manager is expected to also be a technical expert.
Right.
What would you suggest for a young budding professionals who would want to take up this role? What should they do, and how how do they prepare for it?
So the first thing that I want to quote here is something that I read in a blog, and the blog is written by a lady by the name Charity Majors. She is the CTO of one of the observability companies.
Okay.
And our blog is completely about the engineer and manager pendulum, right? If you want to grow as a leader, do you want to, you're going to have certain privileges, but you're going to miss out a few things. Are you ready for it? And if you're not ready for it, is it okay for you to switch back from your manager role to your engineer role or not? Right? And what it clearly talks about is become a manager. No problem with that. Right? But don't cling yourself to the former glory, because when you were an individual engineer, you're doing something, you're getting a bit of an appreciation. You had the dopamine hit of fixing something or solving something, right? Don't cling yourself to that. If you're growing as a manager, learn more about how, when you were an individual contributor and you had a manager, what you would have liked your manager did. Learn from that. And now, when you're becoming a manager, try to see if you can do all of that, right? Try to see if you can do that. And I also read this in one of the books that it said, if you don't like what your manager is doing, work hard, grow to that level, and then change it.
Wow, that's a good one.
Right? And that's exactly what I believe in. So I've been an individual contributor, I've been a engineer level, and then I was a manager. Now again, I'm back to individual contributors, right? And who knows, tomorrow I may be a manager. So my biggest advice is, if you want to be a manager, think about the days back when you were when you had a manager, what you wanted your manager to do, learn that, and do everything that you can when you become a manager. And your people are going to love you as a manager, right? And yeah, I mean, don't get attached to a specific role or job title. It's important to keep evolving and exploring all this new opportunities, and for both personal and professional role, right? So it's natural to feel uncomfortable in a new role and feel very comfortable in the familiar role. But it's also important to challenge yourself, right? Just step out of the comfort zone for a while, see how it goes. And that only means that you're going to take in new responsibilities, try out new technologies, and learn new skills. I think one of my mentors used to tell us that as a manager, if you forget about as a manager also, even being in the industry, if you fail to keep up with the latest developments, you will become dinosaurs, right? Outdated, irrelevant, extinct. So don't become a dinosaur. It's equally important for you to keep all the options open and then remain flexible for new opportunities. And don't be afraid to take risks. That's all. Right? Be prepared for the worst case scenario. That's what I do. Anytime I try to do something, I prepare for the worst case scenario. What happens if this entire thing that I'm working on last 3 months is going to fail? What's going to happen? Will the company get impacted? Will my job get impacted? And I'm prepared for the worst case scenario. And that is when you have a confidence on taking the next step. Just give it your best shot there. That's it. So the key to success, as what I understand, is stay adaptable, open-minded, and be always ready to learn and grow.
Okay, stay adaptable, open-minded, and learning, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. That was very well summarized. And I think the best part was you saying when you become a manager, or if you feel you don't have a great one, what you're expecting. Grow up to that, and you become that what you're expecting out of somebody else as a manager, right? I think that was like bang on. Very good one. Cool. So that was pretty much it, Ganesh. Thank you so much for taking time. As I said, especially on a weekend. It was a great pleasure talking to you. And I would love to have you again, probably for another panel discussion also with the other leaders as well, where we could talk more topics. Yeah.
Absolutely. It would be an honor to join you on that one. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Ganesh. You have a great weekend. Thank you so much again.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Hey, everyone. I think that was a quick, crisp conversation with Ganesh about his career journey. I think some of the key takeaways are stay adaptable, keep learning, and be open-minded. Be open to taking risks and prepare for the worst case scenario. Listen to experts and quickly learn from them, like leeway internet to the largest extent, where if you don't know something, make sure you are aware of it in the next 24 hours. So the next time that question is raised, you do have knowledge about it, and you just do not avoid saying, I do not know. So please add any other comments and suggestions that you have, and I'll see you soon in the next video. Thank you.